A human rescue worker named Beth Crawford responds to a distress signal from an alien ship and discovers that the supposedly superior alien species has never experienced someone willing to risk everything for strangers without hesitation or calculation. Opening. Scene: Beth Crawford floats in her small repair vessel near the edge of human territory. When she picks up a faint emergency beacon from what appears to be a damaged alien craft from the Varath species, known throughout the galaxy as cold calculating, scientists who view emotions as primitive weaknesses. The rescue. Despite warnings from her ship computer about the structural instability, Beth maneuvers closer and sees through the viewport a tall, elegant alien woman with silver skin and 4 arms. Desperately trying to seal a hull breach that grows larger by the second, Beth opens a channel and tells the alien, whose name is Silvara, to get to the airlock because she is coming in to help. But Silvara responds with confusion, asking what compensation Beth requires for the rescue and what guarantees she can provide. Beth ignores the questions and docks her vessel, forcing open the damaged airlock with nothing but her suit strength and a plasma cutter as atmosphere vents around her in frozen crystals. IDTR, moment of trust inside the dying ship. Beth finds Silvara trapped under a collapsed support beam, her lower legs crushed and unable to move while the ship groans and buckles around them. Beth immediately begins lifting the beam, but it weighs far too much even in the reduced gravity. So she tells Silvara she needs to create a lever point, and when she gives the signal, Silvara must pull herself free and get to the airlock. Silvara stares at Beth with her large violet eyes and asks why Beth would risk her life for an unknown alien from a species that has never shown kindness to humans, and Beth simply says, "Because you need help and I can give it." The escape Beth sets up her lever using a piece of debris and begins counting down, but just as she reaches one, the ship lurches violently, throwing them both against the wall and causing the beam to shift, crushing Silvara further. Blood that glows faintly blue begins pooling beneath the alien woman, and Beth realizes they have seconds, not minutes, before either the ship explodes or Silvara bleeds out. Beth positions herself directly under the beam, places both hands against it, and with a roar of effort that tears muscles in her shoulders, lifts the massive weight just enough for Silvara to drag herself free, leaving trails of luminescent blood. The injury as soon as Silvara clears the beam, Beth drops it and grabs the alien woman around her torso, which is difficult because Silvara stands nearly 7 feet tall and her 4 arms flail, weakly trying to help, but mostly getting in the way. They stumble toward the airlock, but Beth realizes her oxygen gauge is flashing red because her tank ruptured during the impact, and she has maybe 30 seconds of air left while they still need at least 2 minutes to reach safety. Without hesitation, Beth rips off her helmet and shoves it onto Silvara's head. Despite the alien protests and the instant the vacuum hits Beth's face, she feels her lungs try to turn inside out. The impossible act. Beth holds her breath and keeps moving, dragging Silvara through the corridor as her vision narrows to a tunnel, and ice crystals form on her eyebrows and lips. Silvara is screaming something through the helmet, but Beth cannot hear anything except the pounding of her own heart, which beats slower and slower with each step. They reach Beth's ship airlock, and she slaps the emergency open button with a hand that has gone completely numb, then physically throws Silvara inside before collapsing across the threshold. The airlock seals and floods with oxygen, but Beth does not move. Her lips have turned blue and frost covers her face like a death mask. The recovery Silvara pulls herself up despite her crushed legs and drags Beth fully inside the ship, then rips the helmet off and begins administering emergency aid while simultaneously trying to understand what she just witnessed. No Varath would ever remove their own life support to save another, especially not a stranger from a different species, because the mathematics of survival always favor self-preservation. Yet this human, this small, fragile human, with her weak single set of arms and her foolish emotional decision-making, had chosen certain death over leaving Silvara behind. The revelation. Beth wakes up 3 days later in a medical facility on the nearest human station with Silvara sitting beside her bed in a hover chair because her legs are still healing. Silvara has been studying human behavior non-stop since the rescue, watching historical records and interviews and cultural documents, trying to understand what she witnessed. She asks Beth why humans do this, why they run into burning buildings and throw themselves on explosives and give their last food to strangers when every logical calculation says they should save themselves. Beth thinks about this for a long moment, then says because someone has to, and if not me, then who and what kind of person would I be if I could help, but chose not to? The shift Silvara processes this answer and realizes that humans do not calculate worth or probability when someone needs help. They simply act and accept whatever consequences follow. This should make them weak and extinct, yet somehow humanity thrives and spreads and builds alliances everywhere they go because people remember kindness and courage. Silvara reaches out with one of her long, elegant hands and touches Beth's scarred knuckles where the frost burned her and says, "Her people have been wrong about so many things. The Varath believe intelligence means removing emotion, but perhaps true intelligence means knowing when to ignore logic and listen to something deeper." The promise Beth squeezes Silvara's hand back and tells her that humans are not special or superior. They just decided a long time ago that the universe was cold enough without people making it colder. Silvara nods slowly and says she wants to learn more about this human way of thinking and maybe teach her own people. That strength is not just about calculation, and Powerbeth grins despite the pain in her chest and says, "Well, you are going to fit in great with humans because we love teaching people, and we especially love making friends with tall, intimidating aliens who secretly have soft hearts." Silvara laughs, which sounds like chimes in a windstorm, and says she is not soft. She is simply reconsidering her previous assumptions. And Beth laughs too because that is exactly what soft means. The aftermath. Over the following months, Silvara becomes something of a celebrity among both humans and Varath, because her story spreads across communication networks and suddenly, everyone is talking about the human who took off her helmet in space. The Varath government contacts Beth and offers her an enormous reward for saving one of their scientists, but Beth turns it down, saying she does not want payment for doing the right thing. This baffles the Varath even more than the original rescue, because humans apparently cannot be predicted or understood. Using normal logic, Silvara begins working with human rescue organizations, studying their methods and training procedures, and slowly introduces these concepts to her own people, who resist at first, but gradually begin to see the value, the new beginning. Year after the rescue, Beth and Silvara are both fully healed and working together on a joint human Varath emergency response team that handles disasters across multiple sectors. They are an odd pair, the short, muscular human with scars on her hands, and the tall, graceful alien with her forearms and calculating mind, but they work together perfectly. During one particularly difficult rescue involving a collapsed mining station, Silvara finds herself trapped with an injured miner and limited oxygen. Without hesitation, she removes her own mask and gives it to the miner, then holds her breath exactly the way Beth taught her, while they wait for the rescue team. When Beth arrives and sees what Silvara did, she just shakes her head and says, "You absolute idiot, I am so proud of you." The understanding later. While they recover, Silvara tells Beth that she finally understands why humans do impossible things. It is not because they are stupid or emotional or illogical, it is because they have decided that some things matter more than survival. Connection matters more than safety, and courage matters more than calculation. And the person you become through your choices matters more than the person you could have been if you had played. It's safe. Beth nods and says exactly, and also because someone has to. And if everyone waits for someone else, then nobody helps anybody. Silvara agrees, and adds that perhaps this is why humans are so successful, despite being physically weaker than most species, because they have weaponized compassion. The legacy. The story ends with Beth and Silvara responding to another emergency beacon, this time from a species neither of them has encountered before. As they approach the damaged vessel, Beth asks Silvara if she is ready, and Silvara responds with a phrase she learned from humans: "Someone has to. And if not us, then who?" They dock with the unknown ship and move forward into the danger together, knowing that they might not make it back, but also knowing that the person they see in the mirror tomorrow matters more than the risks they face today. This is what it means to be human, not the species but the choice, and Silvara has chosen to be human in all the ways that matter. The universe is dark and cold and full of dangers, but it is also full of people like Beth and now Silvara, who run toward the danger instead of away from it. Because someone has to, and because the best of humanity has nothing to do with being born human and everything to do with deciding what kind of person you want to be when everything is on the line.